Hello dear chess friends, welcome to our new video. Here I will present you a game played between Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura. Game was played in 2015 at Sinquefield Cup in St. Louis. And that is a game which shocked the world. You will see what happened, something extraordinary. So stable player as Wesley So is well known as, he convincingly lost game to Hikaru Nakamura in one of the most brilliant attack in King's Indian defense you will ever seen. Let's see what happened. d4, knight f6, after c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7. Of course, King's Indian defense. Hikaru Nakamura is recognized as a real master of it. Knight f3, and on West that variation is called Mar del Plata, but I think, and my compatriots prefer to call it Gligoric variation, because why to name the variation after the tournament black players firstly played it, if you can name it after the author of it. So, Gligoric variation. If you don't know about Svetozar Gligoric, you can ask for his games he played in Mar del Plata. I think 1955 was the year, and some brilliant victories he implemented in that opening and in that line. After knight e1, knight d7, there is other option to play knight e8, but knight d7 is the most common approach after knight e1. So you can see, dear chess friends, there are flanks. White has base on e4 and pick on d5, black has base on d6 and pick on e5, so both sides will naturally go to strike on the base of opponent's pawn's chain. You already know that is very well explained by Aaron Imts, which is his capital opus mine system and blockade. You should strike the base of opponent's pawn chain. That's the very well-known concept, and players play accordingly to this principle. White supports the base, black strikes, white activates the bishop, and now black gains space. Even that is analyzed in Aaron Imtsovich capital opus mine system, where after playing f4 you'll see black eliminates pressure. There is not any more pressure on the base, but now black creates new base on f3 and is ready to go for attacking it. Of course, in King's Indian that's very dangerous, because that attacking on the pawn base is connected with simply attacking on opponent king. Bishop f2, g5, and now there are some other popular moves like a4, maybe to gain space there, or rook c1, preparing c5. Some players prefer to play also g4, where black has dilemma to take on g3, or to play h5, crashing there. So in that game Wesley So played knight d3. Okay, also normal move. Knight g6, c5, and knight f6. Black simply removes cavalry tower king side, and he is ready that vulnerable spot c7 after rook c1, knight b1, knight b5. White wants to attack, of course. Black is ready anyway to support it with rook f8 to f7, of course, and maybe even with knight e8 back. So we'll see a rook c1, a rook f7, multi-purpose move, not only protecting c7 as you can see, but also after bishop e8 or maybe bishop h6, that rook may go to g7 to support attack on the g file. And now king h1. I don't think that's good move, because simply white threats nothing on the king side, and it would be maybe better to go for queen side activities. Black still does not threat to play g4. Let's mention that now after knight b5 black is able to play g4, where after this white will allow knight e4. Black would be excellent here, but maybe something else, like let's say maybe c6 will will deserve some attention. Of course, it's bad for black to take, because white will install piece on d5 with an occupation, and with that 3 pawns, that will be very dangerous against opponent 2 pawns. Pawn majority would be a very strong, very important weapon in white's hands. So let's go back to the game. King h1 was played anyway. White predicted king e8 there, but okay. White did neutral move, slow move, let's say maybe passive move, and that's signal to Nakamura to attack h5. C takes, knight b5, attacking a7, yes, and a6. Now, very well known wrote knight a3. That was in that moment novelty by so. Usually black players like to play here knight a7. Yes, knight is locked out there, but still that was some interesting possibility. And after bishop d7, queen b3, sorry, not b3, queen b3, g4 will lead to some crazy position, but where still we think black should have excellent chances because of that passive knight on a7. So knight a3 should be improvement of white's play, while white wants to direct the knight this route, but the problem is after b5 that knight is a bit misplaced. The question is if white can get a lot from controlling that c6 square, maybe with rook or maybe with knight to invade there. Still, maybe the most logical should be knight c3. White provokes a6, which is weakening move, and now threats with well-known maneuver knight a4, knight b6 to invade the queen side. If black plays b5, now there will be a4 strike, and that's huge difference to the position we achieved in the game. So knight c3 would be more precise move. Let's see what happened in the game. By the way, knight a3, b5, excellent, and rook c6. The question is if rook c6 will dominate there or not. Hikaru Nakamura convincingly proved the rook will do nothing here, nothing dangerous. He goes for attack. And queen c2. White wants just to triple on the queen side, on the c file, with getting benefits there, but Nakamura goes for queen f8. Very well known and very instructive moment, very important resource for black in that setup on the king's side is to play g3. Now it won't be good for white to take, because after that whatever black does, that will just lead him, bring him defeat. After h4, black is ready to play bishop h6, knight h5 to occupy that 2 squares with a dangerous attack. That's just very well known positional pawn sacrifice in the king's Indian defense, in Gligoric variation, where black liberates f4 and g3 squares for his pieces. So after g3, bishop b6, let's say, queen f8, h3 blocking, knight h4, of course preparing some sacrifice knight g2, or even the more probable sacrifice bishop h3. And white would be, I think, in huge problems. Maybe already that would be hopeless for white. So queen f8. Now we see definitely that knight a3 plan just failed, and black has a lot of on the king side. Rook c1, bishop d7, rook c7. Okay, white is consistent there, but there is nothing to achieve. Here, knight b4 later with a reason was suggested as a better. Black must not take there, because after this dangerous passed pawn will arise and white will have strong initiative. For instance, after knight d5, maybe there will be some sacrifice motifs on a6 or b5, and anyway that would be dangerous for black. So but now white will be the side who will go for some positional sacrifice. That's time that would be positional sacrifice of the exchange. Let's switch back to the game. Bishop d7, rook c7, bishop h6, bishop e1. White removes bishop. Now g3 would not be played with attack, and white directs bishop to square b4, perhaps where it can be good attacking piece. But after this, h4. Very important dressers. If g3, white will block, and if knight goes there, there will be bishop bishop f1 defensive move. But generally, another dangerous weapon for black is h4. Now black wants, like in pawn endgames, with h3 to definitely crush white pawn structure and to create maybe passed pawn on the f5. And white takes the poisoned pawn. What else to suggest? Instead of that, he should try maybe with h3. But after this, I don't see anything white can do. Maybe that is better because that would be more resistant, but after f takes g4, that was just prelude to Nakamura's amazing infiltration of all his pieces. Just look what happened. First of all, he played f3, opening bishop, attacking rook on c1. White takes, and now instead of bishop c1, perhaps Wesley so expected this move, where he will, after queen c1, be absolutely dominant. Surprisingly, black will not have attack. That pawn on f3 makes white king side setup so stable. White will threat even to attack himself on the king side with queen g5 in some good moment. Well, instead of that, there is superb move, knight e4. Let's see what's going on. If white takes, there will be defeat after this. Now that will be mate, and that move, king g2, will lead to amazing win for black after bishop e3. Now again bishop f1 will lose the game after h3, and there is queen f1. So in that moment, taking is not good. What to do as white? He played rook d1, which loses immediately, but there are not other options. Later rook d7 was suggested as a better to deflect back rook, but of course black will not take there. Taking there will give white better position after all that shown moves. White will have 3 pieces for 2 rooks, and there is extra pawn, and white will be evidently better. But the point is, black will not take a rook. Black will not take a rook, black will take a pawn. That's chess in all its shine, and that move rook f3, so not taking the rook, take the pawn, will just glorify beauty of chess. Rook f3, now simply bishop f3, queen takes back, queen g2, queen d3 will leave white position in ruins. You will see that white is hopeless here. Knight comes to f4, rook comes to f8, there is nothing white can do. So let's go back to the game. Rook d1 was played, and that's the move losing immediately. Of course, rook f3. Nakamura is in his element. Rook d7, rook f1, king g2, and again same bishop e3. Well, the point is black threats h3 to sack the pawn, and queen h6 after that. Bishop g3, he wants somehow to survive, to organize something. Okay, black takes. Now knight gets access to square h4, which is very important fact. Rook f1, knight h4. And that is already completely winning position for black. Let's see what to do as white. That would be so beautiful mate. So king must go to h3 and queen h6. White is clearly a rook up, but there is nothing he can do. Black has so many threats, and knight h4 is ready to jump somewhere, discovering check to easily bring a win to the black. White tried with g5 to deflect, to open the bishop, to organize something. Knight g5 with a check, everything goes forced. And now amazing move, and the fastest winning move, knight h3. So other moves will also lead to win, but Nakamura is well known as a famous tactic player, and he goes for the fastest win after knight f2. Once again, white goes for resisting, sacrificing everything practically. He wants to eliminate mate threats. Well, there is a threat of mate in 1 with queen h3, of course, evident. Knight f2, but now queen h4 leads to force mate. Now even a rook comes to the game. And now decisive deflection. White must take. And knight e4, double check. Of course, queen e4 is not possible because there is also check from queen. After king g6, queen g5 leads to so beautiful mating construction where black king eliminates white's possibility to play king f7 or king h7. So nice king opposition. Black forced white king to go directly to black camp to visit black counterpart, yes, and to get mated exactly there after he met black king. Here king f5 would lead to mating 2 after this, and the same mate, so nothing will be changed. And that was just one of many brilliant wins Hikaru Nakamura won in style in King's Indian Defense as black. That game was recognized as far the most beautiful game played in 2015 in many surveys, so I also share that opinion, and I also like to present that game to my students as an so interesting way to learn how to attack opponent king. If you start attacking opponent king, straightforwardly go for it, especially if opponent goes for something strange. You can see white just was very well punished for bad novelty. White wanted with some extraordinary way to transfer knight there, but after b5 that knight was just excluded from the game for a long time. As you can see in final position, it still is on a3, and that is something simply helped black to win the game convincingly. Dear chess friends, I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you will enjoy our future material, and see you soon with new lessons. Bye bye.